and it looks like we're ready to jump into pick and ban for game 1.
All right, so opening up, let's see how the blue side meta is on patch 8.15. Still feels like there'll be 2 required bans. Again, reiterating, Akali is banned for the entire playoffs in Korea. No, she's available in EU and NA, but to avoid disruption into the pick bans in Korea, we won't see Akali. The end result, actually, the good news about that is people are like, oh, I wish we could see Akali. Well, you would just see her on the red side, and then there'd be 3 required red side bans, and then the meta might get into a weird spot. It would be even more of a bias towards blue side, and recently blue side has been favored. Notice that Afreeca Freecs, they're throwing the first wild card in. Feels like we're going to say that a lot today. They ban away the Tahm Kench on red side. Ooh. They do not ban the Taliyah. And final ban is actually Ashe. Ruler, before this game started, had won 9 consecutive games on Ashe and was 12-3 over the course of the season. Taliyah will be first picked. We'll see if it is to Fly or Ambition. I think it's Afreeca Freecs saying, hey, we don't really care about Taliyah as much because Ambition is usually on the Sejuanis of the world. And Fly, if you're blind picking mid lane Taliyah, something like a LeBlanc is going to be deadly into that matchup.
And you know what else just got buffed a little bit is a little bit of Olaf, which is pretty decent into the Taliyah. Maybe you say, oh, we shore them into going into that first pick Taliyah. It's very, very predictable. We take away the Varus. There's no Ashe to fall back upon. We also get the good pick of Shen. And then we keep that third pick a mystery until the end.
Surprising to see the Varus priority so high. Actually seeing it here on patch 8.15 when a lot of champions in the marksman role are definitely powerful for different reasons. Xayah Rakan is open here. We've also been informed the Gen G skins are available today. Turned out on 8.14 they weren't available in the Korean tournament realm. So are we going to see Ruler and Core JJ play the Lovers bot lane after all? And Rakan so far, the only one locked in.
Yeah, Rakan locked in. I kind of feel the Xayah feels coming through. Seems like a pretty easy ban. They don't pick it up here. You're talking about different junglers for Kyuve, but how
this
about
would be cool.
Sever
All right,
coming in?
We were surprised to see the Varus priority because picks like Twitch and Jinx and Sivir do exist with a lot of itemization getting cheaper. And Sivir getting a big buff on the previous patch, 8.14, the Orianna style buff, where her Q went from 9 seconds to 7 seconds, more wave clear, more burst. Is it going to be an Essence Reaver build? Will it just be into Stormrazor for even more crit into the face and more burst? There's many different ways to approach this. Also, Afreeca Freecs realize if they want the Olaf into Taliyah matchup, they're going to have to make an educated guess, because this could still be the mid lane Taliyah coming through from Gen G.
Yeah, I mean, you were mentioning that before, but haven't seen the mid lane Taliyah in quite a bit. We'll have to see if Ambition wants to step up. I'm sure all the top tier junglers know how to play that Taliyah, but you take a look at the LeBlanc ban and you begin to second guess.
There are other matchups that work into Taliyah, but LeBlanc is one you don't want to pilot. The Azir also is one of those other ones that you would consider, but it's very interesting. LeBlanc coverage bans are going to be very common on this patch because things like Azir and Taliyah can't really lane into it. But first pick Taliyah when you don't have a jungler recognized for as much Taliyah. Ambition plays it in solo queue, but hasn't played at the highest level. Does hamstring you a little bit. The Orianna ban comes out, Afreeca leaving their options open. Here we do see the GP ban to start thinking out the top lane pool, but the Gnar, of course, Kyuve, very famous for that Gnar, is available.
Yeah, and you see the Orianna ban as well. It seems like Afreeca's not buying into their mid lane Taliyah just yet, but we're going to find out right now. Swain is also going to be picked up here. You would have to think that would go into the mid lane, but I guess at this point it still could be flexed.
There's a lot of things going on here on the side of Afreeca. Note that his barrier as the summoner on the mid laner right now. It could be mid lane barrier Varus, just wave clear, and that would also explain the priority going as high as second pick on the red side a little bit. We'll wait and see. Gen G are getting a lot of Gen G skins together on the blue side, as that probably is going to be either top lane or jungle on the Jarvan. We have seen it, of course, from Smeb very recently into the Camille matchup. See where we go from here. The last pick going to be mid lane. So this would actually be jungle Taliyah after all, and Ambition finally going to play it in competitive play. The Zillion, an old Fly special. This has been going on a lot over for C9. Jensen returning to a lot of that Zilean recently. I wondered if we would see Kindred Zilean as a duo. Instead, it's just Fly's famous mid lane Zilean.
You know, we don't get to see too much Zilean, but I suppose if there is going to be one guy, it will be Fly. And we didn't expect much mixing up from Gen G, but this does not look like a draft they would have brought in on A14. And speaking of which, we got some new stuff here. It's a best of 3, guys. Both teams throwing caution to the wind and bringing in new picks.
And this is the Afreeca Freecs we thought we might see today. The preparation, having their own picks. Going to be Ignite top lane Quinn from Keen. He's playing it in solo queue. So I wondered if he would return to it, match up into the Jarvan. Afreeca Freecs are going for the mid lane Varus as we previewed. Kramer will be on the bot lane Swain. Now we're seeing the Afreeca Freecs of old that could really pull the wool over the eyes in Champion Select. Wait until 20 seconds to get the ultra confirmation on where everyone is going. But Afreeca Freecs will have an Ignite top lane Quinn. I don't think he's going teleport. This would be a return to Trace. Ironically, the drafting coach of Gen G, who was, when he was on Jin Air as a top laner, a top lane Ignite Quinn player.
Yep. Oh boy, this is going to be a fun one. Had a little stat there for Kramer too. He only has 22 KDA on his 2-0 Swain. He's only played 2 games of it, and we don't get to see Kramer too often, but they're bringing him in, and they want to make that Swain Shen bot lane work together. The mid lane Varus, Olaf, and Quinn. This is the Afreeca I know and love.
And what is this draft but win lane, win game on the side of Afreeca? They are saying, whatever gets us good lanes, we'll let Spirit counter jungle, and I think Spirit's going to try and run a pain train all over Ambition's Taliyah.
That's going to be the fun part. Ambition, he's played 5 different junglers. That's it. He doesn't have the broadest champion pool. Haru's been subbed in a bunch of times to play the more aggressive stuff. Taliyah can farm decently well. We'll see if he can put the aggression on or if he's just going to sit back and play super passively and let Spirit just run all over him.
Going to have a couple of seconds here just to work out final issues before we go in. Not a drafting issue, although I'm sure Ruler is sitting there saying, what happened in this draft? Afreeca Freecs. Well, Kramer's flexing his muscles. We wondered, why is Kramer playing today? Clearly they have a pre-planned strategy to Afreeca Freecs. This team with such a big drop after Rift Rivals. Go into the details there, but haven't looked like the same team since they were the ones selected by the Korean coaches to be that last representative in Game 5. Of course, could not get the victory over RNG, and it seemed to really take a toll on individual players. Some of Tucson's performances post-Rift Rivals were on the wane. Their recent series look better, but how much can you draw over a victory over MVP? Seems like a sound issue, by the way, is just to update you guys, but let's get all those issues done, and then let's get to a fun Game 1, because if this is Game 1, I don't even know what Game 2 could possibly provide.
Well, they're bringing it out here in Game 1. We all know what it's like when it's a best of 3, there's playoffs on the line, and you lose Game 1. You never want that to happen, so they're going to come out swinging, both teams, for Game 1 to try to get ahead.
Spirit laughing on the screen. He's probably saying, yeah, Lulu second game. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, well, he got to play Quinn with Ignite, so like...
How about Rumble? Rumble in the jungle?
Yeah.
I like that.
I like Rumble mid lane.
Papa likes that.
Rumble mid lane. Rumble everywhere.
Yeah.
I hope I don't have to wait till the LCK final to see some Rumble smep. Waiting much later. In 1 month's time. Keen on your screen. Seem to be torn between Kled and Quinn, and that's the kind of night I can appreciate when those are the 2 picks. Like, this is all I got, guys. I only own 2 champions, Quinn and Kled. Make it work.
Still waiting for the Garen too. It's not really on the same level, but I feel like it's pretty cool in the top lane. All of the Gen G players have been forced to take off their headsets as it may be a team-wide issue.
I'm loving the cheerful there that Core JJ had in front of him. A lot of fun going around. Huge crowd here. The playoffs was entirely sold out within 10 minutes from what I understand.
Yep.
I believe there'll be more tickets revealed for the final when the actual opposition team is revealed. They don't like to sell all the teams before both teams are locked in at the moment, I believe. So I imagine, again, I don't actually know this, all Casper that patrols the ticket sales stuff, but everything's sold out quickly. It's going to be a fun one here. Will it be a return to the 2-game, 2-0 super fast wildcards? Or will we get a 3-game series like the last time that Afreeca faced Gen G? That was 3-game victories on the blue side. Afreeca Freecs picking up a very narrow win, 2-1.
Well, guys, we got the information. It's no time for delaying anymore. There are no more issues. It has been solved. So it looks like we're just about ready to jump into game number 1. This should be very close.
Yep.
Definitely what we're expecting is the 2-1 victory for either side.
Where's that countdown, Valdez? I'm waiting for it.
Waiting for it. Looks like it's here, guys.
Yeah.
So let's jump into game number 1. Gen G up against the Afreeca Freecs.
I bet there are plenty of fans at home that want a pizza delivery. We've got a pizza delivery. Sivir coming in the bot lane. Cool to see the Sivir here. I actually was speaking to Core JJ before the game started, and I was like, what about Twitch and Jinx right now with the patches and the buff to the 80 items and the buff on 814? He said, yeah, and what about Sivir? And turns out he wasn't fibbing. He was believing in the Sivir, but Sivir is only the second most interesting thing we see. We do get Ignite top lane Quinn. Speaking of Ignite top lane Quinn.
Oh boy, they didn't expect the Shen from the Baron pit. Cuvee gonna be forced to flash here at level 1 before the festivities even begin.
All right, well, that's gonna be no fun for Cuvee. Level 2, he'll have an escape, but you want to use your Q to have any sort of lane presence against Ignite Quinn. Good luck with that one. You are dead. So that's going to be a bad time in the top lane for Gen G. Well, they're going to the second brush here. Remember, on 8:14, there was the shortened cooldown from 9 to 7 on the Boomerang Blade. We're on 8:15 today. So the big update there, of course, is the 80 carry items. And I'm interested to see, will it be Storm Razor? Will there be an Essence Reaver in the Sivir build, which has a lot of synergy with their kit? We don't have the answer to that. We also have the answer to Core JJ. Just won't be rocking that Samsung Galaxy skin.
What is it with these guys? Why don't they want to use their skins?
I don't know.
If I had a skin made for me, I'd be using that every game. Maybe they feel like it's pretty lame. Nice dodge there by Ruler. Good juke. Start off the match. And, well, in the top lane, losing your flash for Cuvee, I would say, well, if there's any top laner I would respect to not die and play safely, it would be Cuvee. But he's up against Keen. Definitely one of the better performing top laners, I should say, so far for Summer.
Looking over the runes here. Going to be obviously super offensive from Keen. Afreeca Freecs seem to have understood the tendencies of Gen G, and this was kind of what we were previewing when we were setting the scene for this really fun first match of the playoffs in Korea. Is Gen G play Gen G's way. They will play the same style, slow in the early game, low gank presence, pretty small champion pools, effective champion pool of 3 or 4. By effective champion pool, guys, I mean the champions they will actually play and perform on at one time is usually 3 or 4 picks. In the meta, Ruler's played about 5 champions all season because he never jumped onto the hype train of the awesome dudes like the Swain we see from Kramer. So given that, Afreeca Freecs, who and what they were for the finals remained up in the air. Were they back to inventive drafting from spring? Were they the same team that has been slumping since Rift Rivals? 4 wins, 6 losses since that Rift Rivals tournament. They went for the early Varus, and we said, of all the champions, Varus with all the changes, but of course, it was the Varus mid lane flex. It set up the Quinn last pick. They seem to have a pre-plan here, and if it leads to win lane, win game, maybe they can just roll over Gen G in the early game.
Yeah, and we've seen what that lethality Varus from the mid lane can do in recent times. A lot of different teams trying to pick it up and make it work. It's pretty good into squishy champions. You look at the side of Gen G, well, there's a good 4 of them. We'll see if the Jarvan does go into a more tanky build. Would probably expect at least a bit of armor going up against Quinn. He's going to need it if he wants to try to survive. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm most excited, you know me, I love to play my Taliyah, but Ambition on the Taliyah. First time for Summer. Can he actually make it work against Olaf is a really big question.
Our understanding of Taliyah jungle actually evolved over the season. The pick obviously didn't see much play because it was banned so frequently, but what I'm trying to say is, at the start you're like, man, it has to be Peanut and Umti, the really mechanical young junglers that'll play the Taliyah and get value, but by the end, some of our best Taliyah players were Score and Tarzan, more of the pathing junglers, just because Taliyah rolls up and her implied burst range is so high that if you path well as Taliyah and she's already quick to begin with, you just force no-go zones for the enemy, get buffs, steal away things, and then the game just ends in your advantage. So If Ambition can find that, that can be big, but Ambition really is a farmer. He really does stay on his own side, and that's why Spirit shouldn't be surprised to find Ambition at his Gromp.
Yeah, Ambition doesn't like to give up many different camps at all. Trying to go for the counter engage here after Tucson does miss the taunt. So far, it has just been Ruler and Core JJ getting ahead down in the bottom side. It's kind of what you would expect early game up against the Shan, the melee support, and the Swain. But this is good news for Ambition. He comes in. He doesn't clear that control ward, though, so they see him going up to the top side.
A lot of river vision, but no deep vision, and that's the second or third time we've seen Ambition just hover around top. Cuvée will have his flashback up, and notice there's no true CS lead here for Keen, and the wave has been in a really awkward spot. Quinn hasn't been able to harass or deny CS away. So Cuvée actually with smart lane positioning and Keen's inability to truly punish has never been able to actually snowball the lane after that level 1 advantage.
Yeah, and the flash is going to be up now, so there's not much he can do in terms of trying to push it even harder. And the good news is that that control ward is still there. Ambition did not really clear that out, and they have so much vision towards the top side. Maybe they can spot him if he goes for a gank. Level 6 Jarvan is a really nice gank assist if you want to go onto anyone.
And if you guys want to know where this game is going in terms of the comps as the game goes on, consider that we have Ignite top lane Quinn. We already had one top lane Quinn game that was played by Tal for SKT. They got a big lead that couldn't close because, of course, not so useful in the siege. Has to be on a split push. Team fighting usually doesn't find a lot of value unless the team is way ahead. And then, okay, that's one thing. You're like, okay, maybe not the latest game. And then what about mid lane Varus? What does that do? Well, really good in the mid game with a couple of lethality items. Doesn't do Baron very fast. Is the only true marksman on the lineup here next to the Quinn. Very good in the mid game. Afreeca really do fall off very hard with this comp. Swain only team fights as well. So Baron bait and siege around the Baron is all they can do. True siege, team fighting going to be so tricky unless they get a gold lead. They really did index and ignite Quinn to get Spirit rolling. He has strong lanes to jungle around. He needs to be pulling off these steals.
Trying to hit it on over to the left side. It looks like Ambition actually picked up the blue, so the pressure does work down there. Another knock up in the bottom side. We're always seeing this work out for Ruler Core JJ, but kind of unfortunate that the Zilean does not get the blue buff, especially up against the hard-pushing lethality Varus in the mid lane, because he can't spam his bombs now.
There's going to be a lot of those unfortunate moments, but there's so much light at the end of the tunnel. Sivir is so powerful with 3 to 4 items, and those items are cheaper. There is less gold efficiency on some of the items. Doesn't matter how efficient an item is if you can't damn afford it, Valdez. And they're going to get there. That's the buff here, is that 700 gold is how much you save on a 3-item Sivir build. That's so big for actually getting yourself online in the game. And once she's online, the very good in isolation 2v2, 1v1 Afreeca Freecs comp is not going to be as useful in a 5v5. So Gen G is just going to once again be slow and steady, and we need to see Afreeca actually make things happen.
Afreeca really trying to close down and not let them take the blue buff. The flash on in and the pull by the Swain. Ambition in so much trouble, and down he will go, and they're linking to take more down here on the bottom side. Core JJ and Ruler. We'll see if they can get that damage down. Not going to happen as the rest of them do back off, but they get that very crucial first blood.
That was so important for Afreeca to actually make something happen, but cruelly for Gen G. It's their own mistake, it's their own invade that's actually turned away from them. Ambition, feeling too frisky, walks up, dies with everything available. He's taken down, and all Gen G need to do is once again lose the minimum. It's what this squad should have on the door of their practice room. Just, we'll get there. We'll scale. You know, late game is our bastion. They push up here. They think they have priority. But once again, Tucson with the super play. This guy is so good when he's feeling confident.
Yeah, and feeling confident in a lot of playoff games as well. That's funny the way that one works, but you knew that once the taunt hit, he was dead. I mean, there's no getting away, especially with the extra pull from the Swain passive. You're just going to die. They're not able to fight off anymore, of course, as Tucson wasn't in there, and no never move available for Kramer, so just pushed him back. But a really good start here for Afreeca, who now have more than 1,000 gold ahead of Gen G.
And we've been focusing on what Gen G have later. Let's talk about what Afreeca have very soon. Lethality item, let's say Ghost Blade or Dust Blade on Varus, certainly going to be more powerful than the Rod of Ages on Zilean. The Blade of the Ruin King, Quinn with Ignite, has kill pressure in lane and roams first, so that's going to be another one-item power spike. In general, at one item, they're more powerful. At two items, they're probably more powerful. But because 3 items is cheaper on Ruler, now that the builds have gone down in cost on patch 8.15, there's also a small nerf onto Quinn. It has to be about Afreeca seizing the first 25 minutes and stopping this game from going to 35. That is how they need to approach the game. And so 1 kill in the early game definitely doesn't reach the docket. They haven't punched that ticket to a victory in game number 1. It's also the sort of draft they might have to completely abandon for game number 2. So the surprise factor is big, but actually seizing these objectives is what we will grade this draft upon.
Yeah, look at the way that this game is going, too. You talked about trying to get an early lead. Spirit's already, right when the Rift Herald starts, he starts it. The funny thing is that Gen G actually had a ward to spot this right in the river, so they know that Spirit did spot this. Trying to get the scuttle now here is Ambition, and he will, but he smites, so they're thinking about going for an engage, actually, as Ambition, he does have his flash, but here's the Quinn, and look at that first damage. Ambition has nowhere to go, and unfortunately, he's going to be 0-2 already. Kramer going to do the zoning job that Swain always does. Looks like the Rift Herald also should go to Afreeca.
Ends up being a 2-for-1 special. The Rift Herald stayed leashed the entire time, Valdez. Wow. Thoreau doing a lot of damage mid lane. It's a good matchup for Varus into the Zillion, especially as you mentioned earlier with the blue buff being contested. He's in definitely a spot of frustration trying to double bomb the wave without taking his entire health bar. Spirit, he's really trying to make this a quick game. Cuvée, he's already a threat of being dived.
Not going to dive him here. Spirit is spotted. Just thinking about it, but decide against it. Quinn, Keen here low on mana as well, so he will just back off, use that Enhanced Recall. I'm going to be curious to see where he decides to push in terms of a lane. Will he try to go mid, where already the Varus has a gigantic lead, or maybe try to help out one of the other lanes here?
I think he should just battle ward. So far, they've been killing Taliyah basically every time they can, as Tucson will skip out here.
You know, Tucson with no flash, that should have been a very easy engage, but they kind of messed that one up, honestly. We've seen Core JJ and Ruler be so clean and so good at winning their matchups, but so far it has not been the case.
And when you're Gen G, you know, you're not happy that you're in 4th place, but you look at your schedule and say, wait, we have the good matchup into King Zone. We beat them in both round robins. This best of 5, we're feeling great about. King Zone is huge Afreeca Freecs fans today because they have traditionally always beaten Afreeca and KT. They would love to play Afreeca in the best of 5 and not Gen G. But Gen G, you know, some of those executions a little bit off. They had to take the Taliyah. It was open at first pick. Ended up going jungle for Ambition, and right now he's kind of playing it in terms of spacing like a Sejuani or a tank and being taken down a couple of times. Gen G, if you just lose to a Quinn top lane and then another creative draw from Afreeca, you're going to feel like you've been cheated out of the playoffs. But it's fast becoming a reality here unless they can find their footing in this game.
It's going to be a rough one. You would like to just go as far as possible so you have a good position in the Worlds qualifier, but Gen G so far has not been impressing here in game number 1. You mentioned how, you know, all they have to do is just back off, wait for the late game, but unfortunately they haven't been able to do that. Maybe a little bit of nerves, you know, just trying to get ahead of the enemy team, trying to take too big of risks. So far it has not worked out for them. Look at Spirit waiting for Ambition to just come on in here. Ambition already 0-2. Still has his flash, by the way. Has not been able to use that one.
It's been seized upon a couple of times, creative gank while they got the Rift Herald. Kane's going to have lane pressure. He's got a red buff, so good luck with that one, Cuvée. Cuvé's actually done really, really well in this lane. He started with no flash, and is down 20-odd CS against a red buff Quinn. So, yep, absolutely, you'll take it. Draft definitely being punished, though. Gen G, the Jarvan didn't work out. The Taliyah first pick, waiting to see if we can find some later value. Spirits pop the Predator.
They know that Ambition is here. He walked over a ward. Easy dodge from the Seismic Shove as he is in vision. Just scaring him a little bit. Keen is already looking scary, by the way, with his Blade of the Ruin King red buff. You're mentioning his lane presence, but I wonder when he's going to start affecting other lanes. Maybe try to make his way down towards the bottom side.
Here's that Rift Herald mid lane. Fly takes a big burst. Won't be able to take this with one charge.
Yeah, but the bottom lane here from Afreeca is going to group up. Lucky on the turn there from the Rift Herald, but it doesn't matter. Keen gets the first room. Kive's like, do I go back? What do I do? Do I push? And he's not there, and that means that Afreeca are going to accelerate this game.
And this is what we wanted to see from Afreeca with this drop. This is what Ignite Quinn does. In lane, you have Ignite, so every top laner who's ever played solo rank knows what that means. You're always afraid to take the same trades. You be confident your damage calculation now needs to be 300 or 400 damage increased biased because of that Ignite range. And then the roaming shoes are on, comes mid lane first, out-rotates teleport most of the time unless you're teleporting really early. So the advantage top lane does spill into the mid lane. Suddenly the Zilean is going to have the minions push all the way into the inner turret. Things starting to go away from Gen G, and it's not all been about Afreeca. It's been their own misplays and Afreeca's smart plays. And now represent a 2,600 gold lead from Afreeca. Work not done. They need to keep it up.
Yep. Keep the aggression on, and do not let this Sivir scale. He's going to have a Zilean in his back pocket. Even if the Taliyah does die and get behind a little bit, is still going to be very powerful eventually. Jarvan with a nice engage alongside Rakan. You don't want to make a mistake in the mid lane after not accelerating the game and then just die to one engage into Baron and then somehow Gen G come back and win. So Afreeca, they know what they're doing. They're a very smart team, right? I'm sure their coach identified this in the draft and told them exactly how they need to play this game. Unfortunately,
though, for Afreeca, I can't use the same boilerplate points. The big thing for them when we were trying to explain them to new viewers in LCK Spring Final was, this is the drafting team. They're amazing at it. They've had some really bad drafts since Rift Rivals. They've been out of sync. They've had individual members who were MVP candidates fall away, as Keen is just being Quinn in the top side. They've been so smart in the draft, is what I would say. In this game, they've returned to that, but I can't give them the full benefit of the doubt because Afreeca have been way more up and down. Consider their match score compared to spring season. It's just so much lower. They lost an extra 3 best-of-3s this season. They lost so many more games. It's been a pretty woeful season for Afreeca Freecs, but this is the return to form that vindicates them being in the top 5.
It's the playoffs, you know? They just barely got in. You mentioned before that with the help of KT, they were able to make it over Hama Life. And here they are, up against a really strong team. All the other teams ahead of them were 13-5, and it's kind of just like the Elite Four for them, basically. They got to fight through every single super strong team that we have left available here in Korea.
And I love that analogy because there was 4. There were 4 teams at 13-5, same match score. Afreeca Freecs, imagine them not being one of those teams. Amazing, given they were second place in spring, but they're trying to show that those 18 best-of-3s mean something. A victory today, being clutch, means oh so much more. Here's another early objective. If Gen G get anything on the map, a Drake, a Baron, anything like that is huge against the run of play. No Baron spawning just yet, even a turret. Given the strength of the lanes in top and mid, and at this point, Kramer has 5 points in his in his Q, so can control the lane on the Swain as well. There should be no free lunges, so much standing gold. All Gen G can say is, man, if we get a Baron, there's going to be such a big Baron power play, because we'll have nothing. We'll only have the Baron.
It's going to be a fun one here. We'll see if Gen G can hold on by their bootstraps and somehow make their way into the late game.
Is Stormrazor onto the Quinn. Stormrazor and the Executioner's calling for lane.
Okay, Predator onto Ambition.
Yep.
And by the way, it's a submarine, but it's above ground. They're going to get Ambition again. And here's Cube. It's going to be a little bit late, but at least they almost kill the Olaf, but not quite able to. Just barely in the end with that bomb. Will they fly now in the pit all alone? Is going to go down. They do get an extra kill, 2 for 1 for now. Now Keen pushing forward. Has that red buff, misses the taunt. Trying to dive under the turret, and Swain is so good at this. Where can they go? They're just gonna die under the turret. Ruler goes down. The taunt comes in on a core JJ. Not gonna be able to take him out. Somehow Keen died too.
Keen took tower aggro on the dive, so goes down. It's only a 3 for 2. It's not as one-sided as you might imagine. They'll desperately want this mid lane turret, but I don't know if Kramer and Tucson can kill it fast enough, and Core JJ is actually gonna stick around to stop that turret going down. First look, it looked like it was going to be Afreeca blowing open the game. Not as much as you might think.
Keen just, he's getting excited. He's not a KT fan, but he's just having a good game, a fun one, I would say, on the Quinn. bit of an unfortunate play, and as you mentioned, yeah, the bot turret is not going to go down, so in the end, just the one extra kill, it's not going to accelerate as fast as we thought.
Well, Spirit wanted to accelerate the game. He says, I've got Predator. It doesn't matter if I'm a level under. What is ambition to do? He still has his flash, by the way. He's going to have it all game, saving it for game 2, maybe.
I don't understand.
There's nowhere really to flash against the Olaf this time, so I can't really complain. Eventually, they need flashes just to kill Fly. They're desperate. You can tell Afreeca Freecs know the same thing as we do. We need to win this game soon. We need to win this game before the enemy team comp is ready for team fights. That's why they go for the dive. Kramer can start the turret dive up. Kramer goes in. Keen eventually takes aggro and falls down to the last shot.
They weren't able to get any more even after Tucson taunted them. The Swain is still slow, you know. We're not looking at a Spellbinder anytime soon for Kramer down on the bottom side. Still working on his Zonias. Might have it now after that last fight, but let's take a look at some of the damage from that last one. The Quinn actually on top, but you can see already that the Sivir is holding up her end of the fight.
Again, fights that we say Quinn can't team fight, and that is true, but a team fight is defined as a 5v5 when Gen.G are ready to go. In that case, if they're in an ARAM in the mid lane, Quinn's like, I don't have anywhere to dive into. But it ends up being multiple skirmishes when you're ahead, when you've got the mid lane turret down, when you have a vision advantage, and you can just roam first from top lane with speed. That's not a fight. That's not a team fight. That's very much the sort of area where a Quinn can skirmish to win. That's what happens commonly in the early to mid game phase, and that's why Keen is still on the road.
Still looking to put pressure in the bottom side is what you would notice. He did his job in the top, pushed that one in, got one of the first turrets, but roams down here. Predator available, Spirit uses it, but look at the wave flare actually. Zilean Sivir. It's not a Zir Sivir, but it is also very, very strong, especially with that Sivir component.
Zilean ult has such questionable valuable this early in the game. Eventually, Ruler just can go in alone, and the Zilean ult can be used there. Again, compared to Jensen, who loves to pair it with a Kindred, who has so many different things she can do with the Lamb's Respite and also the Chrono Shift. There isn't that synergy in this game, and of course they're behind, so it's very unlikely to work. It doesn't work so well against Varus either, because he pokes for a third of most people's health. And against that sort of burst range, you don't get a lot of value out of Zilean. A lot of people won't know this, but Fly was on the Zilean hype train before Jensen or anyone else in 2016 when KT Rolster were in that 2 HP famous game against Rox Tigers in the final. That was when he was known for his Zilean play all through the 2016 season. And returning to it here, again, doesn't fit as cleanly because I'm not as big of a fan of the draft around it, and Afreeca Freecs with the Quinn last pick really threw a wench into the works.
Wanted something that could split push well, but also group up with the team fast. We saw the Kled hover as well. Definitely brings some thoughts into the minds of Gen.G. What are we going to be facing as the game does go on? Gonna be scared about the Quinn pick if you lose to it, but even a Kled later on is definitely gonna be scary. And well, the game has slowed down a little bit after the clearing down in the bottom side. That is gonna favor Gen.G. Just waiting it out, and they got Sivir down on the bottom line, just farming it up so far, so pretty good.
And again, why is that? Well, the easy objectives, Brendan, they're starting to go down, Valdez. There's only one turret left, and Sivir is patrolling that one. Sivir, Xerath, Azir, we know them as the forever keep a turret up situation, and that's what's happening in the bot lane. And that means when they eventually do that last 300 health to the bot lane turret, the game's going to be at 25, and that's where Afreeca will really feel like they need to get the next thing. The next thing, the inner turrets, the Baron, they're much harder than the opening objectives. Getting value out of Quinn will get more and more tricky as she walks through Warded Brush. So Gen.G, despite some really big mistakes in the early game, are close to stabilizing in this game number 1.
Have a full-on 5v5. They don't want to give a second Mountain Drake over to the side of Afreeca. Ambition going to start this one up. And notice Kramer's positioning. He was always threatening that flank from the right side. Spirit and Kuro doing a good job of keeping all the vision available. Afreeca are just so good about closing out all the vision around objectives. Look at how many control wards. They're slowly pressing forward. There was one on the blasting plant above them. They move it into the bush ahead. Just trying to win that vision war so far. Not confident enough to start the Mountain Drake first. They want to poke out Ambition, and well, that's what the mid lane Varus is for.
The poke is good, and look in the mid lane also. Keen pushing in the wave, getting a bit of damage onto Cuvée. Afreeca can do multiple things at once. They have globals, they have speed. Gen G cannot defend multiple objectives against this Afreeca comp this early. They will lose the Mountain Drake.
Really well played passes of play there from Afreeca, just controlling the vision, using the Varus composition, the Swain even from behind, always threatening. Nest them a second Mountain Drake with the third one on the way. You're talking about how Varus, with the lethality build, is not fantastic about doing Baron, but well, you have good seeds. Maybe you can just push in, and it's going to help out your Baron push as well.
I'm just looking for Afreeca to be very glass half empty. It's not what you have, it's the next thing you should have. You need to be greedy with a draft like this. It is very much about the lanes, the skirmishing. The part before you can just patrol as 5, put down control wards on Baron and delay the game 10 minutes. They need to blow open this game and decide it before then, so they're still doing very well. We just have a data point already of SKT being unable to close with an even bigger lead at this point. The Quindras will struggle to get over the line.
Cuvée doing his part, gonna net a nice amount of gold down on the bottom side. Bot turret's actually pushed first by Gen G, in part due to the Sivir push earlier on in the game. Ambition still trying to find his meaning throughout the entire game. This Taliyah has not looked so good so far.
Has she flashed or ulted?
No, neither.
Oh, the interrupt.
Oh man, Cuvée has to flash over the wall. That's huge down in the bottom side.
Now that's some Quinn mechanics I can get behind. Nice interrupt there onto the flag and drag. Cuvée thought he could lazily get over, he could not. Nice reminder, again, a lot of solo rank play by Keen on the Quinn recently. You never know what that means when it comes to players in solo queue, but clearly it means they're ready to go. Plenty of people had Akali practice games. Those ones ended up being useless for the playoffs as Akali is disabled. But the Quinn finding some value here. And the gold lead, it's consistent, but it's not growing past 4,000.
Yeah, you'll notice it even took a jump up towards Gen G as they did not use the Weaver's wall, but still they created space for the Sivir to push in the top side. And so, in terms of objectives, turrets specifically, Gen G only down one turret is not so bad for where we're at in the game, 27 minutes in. So they should be happy about that. The Sivir looking down the barrel of her third item at 2.5 right now. You have to wonder, when is the tide of this game going to eventually turn to Gen G?
I think when there's that Infinity Edge there, consider the Ricochet crits onto Quinn. Even the Olaf is not very tanky. It's Hex Drinker and a Knight's Vow. Some win more options for the mid game, like we mentioned. That is when Ricochet accidentally kills people. So we're getting to that point. 4 items, not that far away. 3 items is close. 700 gold is the amount shaved off a 3-item build that starts with Storm Razor, goes into a Zeal item, and then ends with Infinity Edge. Very, very close to that is Ruler. Gen G seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. What is Afreeca Freecs' next move to actually increase the pace of the game?
A pick into Baron would be perfect, but we've seen that Gen G is good at just playing extremely passive and saying, we're not going to get picked. Now, if they try to pressure at the Baron, they can get poked out by Kuro. We've already seen that. He's now level 16, with Keen even level 17, the highest in the game so far. If Afreeca could get vision control of that upper river and poke them out, maybe that would be a good start.
You know, it's a cool item that we do see from Kramer is his first look at Keen just to, okay.
Look at that, he knows what's going on. Look at the burst too. No flash out of Cuvée, should be an easy cleanup. Tries to dunk him, but it's not gonna work.
He got dunked, Valdez.
Oh boy, and look at Ambition, where's he at? Now the Olaf is just gonna loll all over his face. Finally flashes away. I say finally with just, man, he finally did it. It's good for him, but not good for Gen G as now the Taliyah is pushed out of the fight.
And Keen is going to decide the game. He's got his Infinity Edge already. He seems to be on the hype train of getting these items while they're cheaper. Get them while they're hot, says Keen. The Twin Shadows actually on Kramer for the catch we talked about. Keen just caught himself. That was the thing he was able to do. He got his own solo catch. Yeah. Now they're on Baron.
We've been looking for the AD carry from the Afreeca Freecs. It's been in the top lane the entire time. The Swain just for zoning, and he's doing exactly that. The bomb's coming forward, but it's not going to happen. The smite is there. Tucson now looking for that taunt, and he is going to get it on Ambition, who once again can't do much. The knock up here onto 2 by Core JJ, but he's going to disappear. The teleport from Cuvee is canceled, and Afreeca Freek takes a huge Baron.
And that's what they were looking for. That's what they were desperate for, and it all starts from Keen. Solo killing Cuvee. Cuvee has a teleport, spawns too late. He can't even get there for the Baron. They get the Baron, they get the kills, and now the comp that couldn't team fight. How are you going to stop this siege from Afreeca Freecs?
Now it's like a freight train running straight through your town as they're going to try to take out all the turrets. They do so much damage to the front line. It's ridiculous. They have a ton of gold. They want to go back and buy first. And, well, the items are even going to get even more scary.
Afreeca Freecs are getting real scary. Suddenly, if you're King Zone waiting the next stage, you may always beat Afreeca. But Afreeca inspired with their draft today. The Taliyah has been a problem for the enemy. Watching the replay of how this happened in the mid lane, eventually they realized they couldn't get onto Kuro. Taliyah walked up, tried to help the kill on Kuro, and that meant he went in the death chamber. Didn't actually die, but of course was zoned away. Nothing Taliyah can do against Olaf, and no value out of Taliyah for the first pick from Ambition.
You know, we mentioned it before, only 5 different junglers that Ambition has played in the summer. This Taliyah, it's not looking too clean. I feel like you got to stay behind your front line when you're going for an engage.
And it also, Valdez, subverts how the drafting works in this patch. Oh, so in this stage, remember, we're on the wildcard match. Gen G, as 4th seed, had the choice of side. They were the ones to choose the blue side. As you would expect, blue side has been favored for the majority of the recent memory, because through picks and bans you influence. The enemy has to ban Taliyah and Aatrox. Afreeca, for once, they actually sat back and said, do we need to ban Taliyah? Fly is a good Taliyah, but first pick, mid lane, blind pick Taliyah is not great. Ambition, does that fit his style? The answer is no. The only team bold enough to leave it up is Afreeca Freecs. They were ready for it. They've answered it. It's been a great draft from Afreeca.
That it has, and they're finally playing to their strengths. It's so exciting to see. Speak about a dark horse. They come out here, they're the 5th team. There's no Elite 5, guys. It's the Elite 4, and Afreeca is number 5. So they're trying to push through this entire lineup, and they come out to play here in game number 1 after a fantastic win in the draft. Well, can't really argue with that. And the damage is there to follow it up too. Now triple Mountain Drake to Afreeca and to Baron, and now we've moved past 10,000 gold in terms of a lead. They are running away with game number 1. Oh, God.
That was 1 Q. The second one kills Ruler.
Guess he didn't have his spell shield available. As well, Sivir also not able to carry this one just yet. We're here after 30 minutes, but it has been too one-sided for her to do much.
I think Gen G, the one thing they should really be culpable of in the draft is not asking the same question I did of why is this Varus so early? They've actually just really been answered compositionally with the mid lane Varus. After all, the Zillion into Varus is not something you'd want to do, but it's something they've ended up with. And this result, they might just lose their turrets here. Baron about to wear off, but there is the base being broken.
They'll get it. They're taking it slow. Kramer is going to get bursted out of nowhere. The crit's finally coming out of the Sivir. Seismic shove, though, going to miss. Trying to jump on in there is Quinn, but then she's going to go down. Gen G pulling off a massive defense. And Afreeca pushing too far forward. Can they get Spirit here is the real question. Trying to get that boomerang. It's not going to kill him.
Oh.
And there it is. Kuro going to snipe down the Jarvan just to get one back. Afreeca, they bit off a little bit more they could chew, but at least they're getting more kills on the backside.
Big mistake from Kramer. Dies in 1 rotation. Wasn't able to use his Zonias in that particular fight. They agreed to get that last hit. We called this turret dead before it actually was. Cuvee finds a spot to go in. Kramer never uses anything and goes down. From there, Keen is split off. He decides he's going to try to burst someone. Knows he's going to die this play. He'll also go down. This is a reminder that 5v5 was not something that Afreeca got. It's not that Afreeca have a way better draft than Gen G. It's that their draft did different stuff and they played to their win conditions when they needed to. They return to 5v5s like that a few more times, they're still going to lose this game.
you got to be so careful, especially when you're playing Swain and you're this far ahead. You can feel invincible, right? You just walk on in, you have your Zonias, but if you get bursted down, all of a sudden you're just non-existent in the game, and Kramer definitely a big mistake. Swain has the very short range, obviously, on his auto attack, so just wanted to move that slight bit forward to take out the turret. It was definitely the wrong move, and now, well, the Sivir has more than just an Infinity Edge. Cuve looking for the engage, not going to happen.
Oh, no. Cuve is looking to get the hell away from Quinn. It's a 4-item Quinn on the side of Afreeca Freecs. This is much easier to show. Afterwards, here's the engage.
Yep, looking for this one. Cuve pretty tanky at this point. Look at Ruler over the left side. Going to burst down the Olaf, but in the end, Zillion ultimate going to come in. Kramer not able to take out Ruler, and now he's going to get bursted down and missing. But here's Keen from behind. He's going to dodge that side. Look at him go into the back line. Takes out one. Can he take out another? As Kuro gets extremely low, but he takes out one on the backside.
They can't kill Keen.
Oh, man, it can't kill him. He's just going forward. He bursts down on the rocks, and maybe the Taliyah is going to be able to get a triple kill on the backside. Holy moly, as the rocks on the ground take them all out.
Afreeca Freecs get so greedy, they're going on different targets each time, and in the end, it's actually cleaned up by Gen G, of all things. Afreeca Freecs, they have to be more decisive. If they keep going 50-50 in fights like this, there'll be 6 items on the damn Sivir. We're going to watch the replay. Cuve can't go bot lane because he doesn't have the items to 1v1 against the Quinn. That means that Afreeca are too far up as a 4-man squad. They get greedy jumping onto Ruler, and after the Chrono Shift, Ruler actually does more damage in this fight than he should. By the time Keen gets there, he can fashion his 4-item Quinn. He might as well be a Sivir in what he can do in these fights. Ruler gets the extra damage, but still you're thinking, yes, Quinn's going to decide the game. Notice what happens at the end of the fight.
He dashes
jumping
forward over the rocks and gets killed by himself.
In the end, Ambition's able to stabilize the fight. It should have been easier for Afreeca Freecs. They get a bit desperate for those final kills. The bloodlust is too damn strong, and this game will extend.
Yeah, we mentioned we were questioning, why is Kramer coming out here instead of aiming? He plays the Swain, and he played it so well for 30 minutes, but 2 mistakes in a row. They really wanted to kill Ruler. He wasn't able to do it, as Ruler was on top of his flash. He's able to survive. And now this may not be Afreeca's game, as weird as it sounds, even though they're 9,000 gold ahead. We got a Sivir online, boys.
And there's a reason why Gen G drafts the way they do, because slow and steady, it will always have Baron impact and 5v5. Afreeca have tried to play around Gen G's tendencies, but if Gen G can fall back, get comfortable, they can win this game.
A lot of it is going to be that assassination from Quinn, too. We got a lot of flashes down. Cuve gets the engage again, and the follow-up from Rakan. Can Sivir burst them down? The Rock's going to miss here from Emission, but finally they do, and the top side is going to be routed as Keen comes in from behind, but only gets the Zillion ultimate out of Ruler. And now they're going to be able to turn here as there's no more barrage.
Gen G never had the map control to make plays like this to force Afreeca into 5v5s, but after those 2 losses they have, Keen's going to take an inhibitor.
Oh,
the Baron should go to Gen G.
This is getting real interesting, too, because we got Spirit looking at the Elder Drake. Doesn't have enough burst to do it himself. He's going to start it, though. We'll have Quinn following up.
Trying to interrupt.
Gen G, they're going to have to back first. They have to defend the base. They don't want to lose Nexus turrets. So that might be an inhibitor and Elder trade for the Baron.
That's actually a really good call from Afreeca after they lost control over the Baron. They end up getting a 3-stack Elder and mid lane inhibitor. That's a win, if you think about it, because suddenly second Elder is a massive win condition in about 7 minutes' time. Gen G were able to make this game about what they wanted. They should never have had the choice. It should have been dictated to by Afreeca Freecs, but they can always have a go button. Cuve can't 1v1 the Quinn, but he can always initiate. If you're initiating on either the Quinn or the Varus, they're going to have a bad time. Zillion just presses Chrono Shift on Ruler, and then he might as well be that Kindred that Cloud9 love to play. He can frontline, he can do whatever he wants. Ruler is at almost 6 items. The Bloodthirst only going to help him in frontlining against Afreeca Freecs.
He's going to need it, too. Will mitigate a lot of the poke from the Varus, too, and he's going to be a lot bigger in these team fights as the game does go later and later. And if you guys are Jarvan mains, I would recommend you check out that engage once again. He got the flag over it. It didn't even look like Kuro and Spirit knew they could be engaged from there. It was really good from Cuve.
Let's talk about what the teams know right now. There's a new variable they could not have known pre-game that you have to imagine. It is 45% damage to turrets and minions Quinn at the moment. So, we already know that QV can't 1v1 the Quinn. Now we know the Quinn can look at a turret, decide it dies, and its death will be confirmed. How did Gen G get over another minute of the Quinn just being able to end the game in 40 seconds?
Definitely looking at, you know, maybe four-shotting a turret down on the bottom side. We'll see if Keen has it. Look at what Spirit's doing, is going to follow him down just in case someone wants to try and stop him.
Afreeca Freecs can't group as 4 like they have a couple of times and get engaged on by QV, but they can just try to get Keen as much time as possible. All Spirit is being is a human ward to try to get Quinn onto this inhibitor.
Yeah. See the vision control also that Quinn does have really helps in the just split push here. Is able to spot the control ward coming on in. They do not push anymore.
And yet with an implied double flame horizon, there will be a double flame horizon for Keen very soon.
Oh my God.
He still can't out team fight a Jarvan with 3 items and a half. That's just what kits are. That's why tank tops, or in this case, you know, utility tank tops, a fighter top, have always been more reliable than a Quinn, because Quinn can do many things, but not team fight. Gen G want to make it about the 4, make it about the 5. Core JJ, he's the human ward, and they do get the outer mid lane turret.
They push in, they finally get something out of their Baron buff. Look at this, we are going to have a wall come down. It's not going to be very useful, as Ambition is going to miss. Well, his Talia, I feel like that has been the one weak point. Afreeca really testing the draft of and champion pool of Ambition, and so far it's worked out.
Nice wards, actually. Spotting the transition here of the Olaf and the Quinn, and smartly, Gen G is staying away. Because of the defensive advantage of the inhibitor, you can't just go and take pot shots at the Quinn. Can't actually escape that way. We saw Tal in that SKT game be caught in that area because you take any damage. You take a CC, you can't remount, and then you are actually able to go down. So, Spirit's still here, the Quinn waiting. Buddy system is employed by Gen G. Amusing that the buddy system has to be ruler in QV, but that's the sort of assignment you need to actually have threat onto the Quinn.
If you want a fighter, you're going to need some damage. They have that in spades. The Guardian Angel was picked up by Keen. He is 5 items currently. We'll see if he gets rid of those boots anytime soon. We're mentioning the double flame horizon. He's 10 CS off of it. I also want to draw your attention to the Magi's on the Talia. 10 stacks. He had a Dark Seal earlier. I wasn't thinking he would actually build it up, but Ambition, he's, you know, he's trying to make up for that early game, I suppose.
Well, I only have old man jokes and is it a recommended item jokes about Ambition, but he did have that one good team fight as Talia, so we'll give him a bit of a reprieve. The Flame Horizons are all over the place. There's a 100 CS advantage in mid lane for Kuro and 100 CS advantage for Ruler in bot lane. I don't know if we've ever had 3 different Flame Horizons in a game, but we have that here. 3 including a double.
Wow, okay. Well, that's a first, I suppose.
So 3 Flame Horizons and soon to be a double Flame Horizon is 1 out of the 3. That just shows you what this game has been about, though. It's been about the 1 for Afreeca. It's been, man, this Quinn is pretty damn strong and able to split push. But the last 100 CS has meant nothing, and QV has influenced the game more since 28 minutes than Keen has been able to. Keen can warp the game, but easy objectives versus hard objectives. Out of turrets, man, Keen roams so fast and can get in. Late game, much harder to get value. So for now, Gen G say, this is why we play the way that we do. We never played any of these bot lane, mid lane carries, no overflow there. Ruler had only Marksman as his champion pool. They know how to play the late game oh so well. Afreeca wanted to win the game between 25 and not have the game extend through 35, as we said during pick and ban. It's now 43.
We're just about there, and you were talking about that second Elder kind of win condition here for Afreeca. Well, bad news for them is that the Baron is going to spawn first, and Gen G could definitely try to force a 5v5. You notice that for now, QV with this TP up really wants to push that bot lane so Quinn doesn't have the pushing advantage down in the bottom side, the potential to take out another turret and perhaps an inhibitor, even if Gen G do get that Baron.
Spirit is not as tricky as he thinks he is. He's being shadowed by Ambition on the bot side. Unable to get any value from Quinn, and Gen G just say, okay, we'll all have 6 items for our next 5v5 fight.
Showed himself.
There will be an offset, remember, between Baron and Elder, and if Gen G set up first, how do Afreeca contest vision when they have no true tank on their side. Olaf doesn't want to use Ragnarok to check an objective. They have to be oh so careful, because if it ends up being the 5v5, I think Ruler's got the win button. He's on this Sivir, buffed on 814, the itemization cleaner on 815, sorry, which we are currently on. And now Gen G say, Baron spawns in 18 seconds. Powers onto you, Afreeca, what do you do?
Keen, he wants blood down in the bottom side, taking out Cuvée and then going for it would be fantastic. But look at this, the bomb on top of Ruler. You don't want to get anywhere near him. It's not the Kindred, but Sivir is fast himself, and this is it. They're on a timer. They need to get the Baron because already the bottom lane is being pushed.
All right, let's watch this timer. Minion wave is so much slower than Quinn. It's very amusing to watch.
Look at this.
When he gets up there, it's going to be quick.
Turret's gone.
Yep.
Wall's coming in. He wants to remount and not going to flash the wall. He's really fast,
He's
by the way.
wasting a lot of time.
He's going to go around the turrets, say, you can't get me. And, well, now they might get him here. He's really fast.
He played it so well.
Man, he's going to get out of there so well. Keen 1v2ing. Afreeca, unfortunately, of course, not able to take a Baron. But, again, the Elder is about to come up. They get another turret. Afreeca playing it well.
His Volt usage is so good. The interrupt earlier on the Flag and Drag and then getting out, waiting for the Cataclysm and knowing it. Beautiful stuff. It started off amusing. It ends with the PogChamp. And now Afreeca are more in position than Gen G.
Yeah.
They're pushing out multiple waves. Ruler needs to stop killing people. We just can't find anyone in range.
Nobody can stop Quinn. They need to 2-1 him. But look at the top side. Kramer's able to push it to 1-3-1, and there's no Baron pressure. Even Spirit going to be able to win this one. Quinn keeps the Taliyah down, and look at the top turret. It is going to go down too. They want to collapse on a Kramer here, but he gets the perfect never move, and Afreeca get another objective.
They can't get the inhibitor bot lane, but they get an inhibitor turret. Can they return to it?
Look at this.
This is the second Elder. Remember, Afreeca, with all those plays, bought enough time for there to be a trade, Valdez. Remember, they were offset. There was 1 minute between Baron and Elder. But in that 1 minute of Yakety Sax play from the Quinn, now the Elder is on the map. Gen G aren't in position for it. And Afreeca getting a fresh shot, but what does it mean for the Elder Drake?
Elder Drake looking like it might go to the side of Gen G, but Keen looking to try to come from behind.
Spirit
not able to knock him up here. Spirit going to be delayed for now, but here he comes with the stone play. Can he get it? No! Ambition is going to be able to pick it up, but Cuvée gets extremely low. At the top side, here's Kramer finally coming in. This is the team fight to the side. Kane in the back line. He is going to get that damage down, and Ruler is going to go down, and down will go the bottom lane. Afreeca, they've done it. They win the team fight, lose the Elder, but it does not matter. They played this game so well. Can they push in? Fly trying to get out of there, and he will. He's the last hope here for Gen G, but there's a huge freight train coming for their base.
They should be able to end the game. They don't have a minion wave right now, and that is going to delay. Look at the death timers here, 40 seconds on anyone relevant. Surely it has to be now, Valdez. Surely it's Afreeca Freecs taking game number 1.
Looks like it will be with Keen in position. They have done it. What an incredibly high-level game we've had here tonight. Afreeca is able to win it here in the end. Still 20 seconds on even the next person, which is Rakan. And that's going to do it, guys. Game number 1 of this best of 3 is going to go to Afreeca.
Big cheer from the crowd here at the Nexon Arena. That was such a tricky game for Afreeca to close out after Cuvée made those big engages in the mid-game. And it looked like it was going to be just a good old honest 5v5 game that Gen G always falls back on. But Keen on the Quinn, justifying the last, but the Ignite Quinn won them the game with the smooth moves around that bot lane inhibitor take that also delayed the Elder to actually be spawned. Yes, Gen G got in position for it first, but they couldn't cover all their flanks because it wasn't the Baron they were setting up for the last 3 or 4 minutes. Ruler dies, so does Gen G. It's been the story the entire summer season. And now Gen G, who would have already been thinking about how they were favored against Kingzone in the next best of 5, may never get there. They have to win 2 in a row against Afreeca Freecs.
Definitely going to be a big question, which side do you pick this time around? Definitely after seeing Ambition's Taliyah, I would not like to see that happen again. Afreeca, fantastic draft for game number 1, you would have to say. Let's take a look at this last fight as well.
I think Gen G's draft was strong, but they weren't in as much command of their draft as Afreeca and other teams that played this Taliyah draft were. I thought Ambition was weak in the early game. We got to the late game, And Keen is just able to make this work. They have to kill Ruler at all costs. He's not actually taking aggro there, but a Q into a damn Comet that does so much damage. He goes down. There's no fallback when Ruler dies.
Disappeared. The perfect flank as Keen came in, disabled the Jarvan, took him out, comes behind the entire squishy backline. They had no more tank available. And wow, what a game there. Ambition, he's going to be thinking, and now a big question is, do we bring in Haru? Probably not, I would say. I think I would like to still see Ambition, but don't put him on Taliyah.
Gen G would always do that. Sub in Stitch and Wraith, even though Ruler and Core JJ had a good game a couple of years ago. The issue I see is that all the practice they put in was not for this comp. It went away from Ambition. If he's on a tank jungler, things are more comfortable. On the red side, usually things are a bit more predictable. You're banning away Taliyah. Let's see what happens in game number 2. My first thought is, do Afreeca Freecs even choose the blue side? We have dynamic side selection. After the break, we'll know if they even choose blue.
It's a big question, but guys, we will have that break coming in right now. So we'll join you after just about 12 minutes for game number 2.